Good morning, guys. Welcome to day 53 until I'm a YouTube millionaire. There is a famous quote by General George S. Patton that we were made to memorize when I was an Air Force Academy cadet back in 2008. It goes like this. Very simple, very straightforward. Those are the ones that you remember best anyway. You were always on parade. What does that mean? Well, for a military individual, a service member, it means that people are always looking to you for leadership, to be well put together, and to represent your government as a military service member as best you can. It is not the case that you are always going to have perfectly aligned political, spiritual, social, cultural philosophies as the service that you are a member, of which you are a member. But you are nevertheless going to be an upstanding member of that service. You got into it being a United States citizen, good enough to meet the mark, and you're going to represent it properly, especially when in uniform. Well, the same idea follows, in many things in life. This is especially true with those who are in the public eye. Excuse me. When you're in the public eye, in whatever large or small venue, got a little bit of sniffles going on. I apologize, guys. Then you never know who is looking to you for guidance. Because there really is almost no predictable future, necessarily. We're kind of, in a lot of ways, shooting in the dark, right? There's a lot of people out there that are wondering how we could have ever gotten here, because we were on a railroad track to our own oblivion for the longest time. And yet somehow, it does appear we managed to break off that railroad. But now what? You know? There are some imaginations out there, some ideas, that give us a picture of where we could go in the future. But we don't know for certain. We're making a unique, original path right now. And that's why we have to use those ideas that those people with imaginations create, such as the political structure and exploratory, expeditionary forces of Starship Troopers, for example, that were in the mind of Robert Heinlein that he put on paper so that we could read and use for our own path at this point in history. The grand experiment that is the United States, we don't know where it's going to take us. We really don't. What I will say is that we can imagine a reality where our lifespans are 1,000 times longer than they are now, simply by looking back in our history of the Bible even, right? Methuselah living 800 years. So we have it at least in our imaginations, at least in our cultural zeitgeist across thousands of years. The concept of living that long. even if we haven't figured out how to do it yet. At some point in the future, we will. As long as we don't destroy ourselves. And I don't think we're going to. I think we're okay. I think enough of us will make it through whatever channel it is that we're going, through which we are going, to where we will exist in perpetuity. I think we're going to get on Mars, and then into different solar systems, etc. Now, the universe has an end date, the whole universe, of a Google years in the future, which is an unfathomably long period of time in the future, but it does have an end date. Therefore, we technically have one if we can't figure out how to get outside of this universe. But we will. So those with imagination are the ones that pave the path forward when no one else has a concept of what to do. So we're on this new path right now. Robert Heinlein is one of those thinkers that really did conceptualize how governments would evolve. Whether he's right or wrong, we don't know. But he had a conceptualization. He had an imagination to think in hypotheticals of where it might go. So, if we live eventually indefinite lifespans, which I really think is going to happen, then how would governments evolve? Well, it's my mindset that they would evolve into a monarchical republic. That is, everybody has a say, but also everybody has a very well-known place. All right? Doesn't mean you can't shift around. Doesn't mean you can't ascend those ranks or even descend if you make some screw-ups and stuff. But it's monarchical because there's no need to change out the leaders because people don't die. They just keep living. Right? Except to get a little bit of a different flavor, if you will. That's the only real reason you would shift it around. But if we know, for example, that the highest good is a one Jesus Christ, who is by definition the highest good, then why would we ever try to take him out of that spot? Try to usurp that position? We could never live up to that name. But if that person is there, but at the same time isn't, he's there, by the way. I'm just saying that, he's not, you can't see him, right? Then it's incumbent upon us, if we want to be the best leaders possible in this giant scattershot of the future that we are trying to discern, to model him as best we can. It won't be him that's at the helm visually, but he is the one at the helm. That's just a concept, I personally am of the mindset that in due time, he actually will be revealed physically, in front of us, hey, what's up, guys? That's what he'll do. But yeah. So there'd be no reason to shift around most leadership positions. Government structures would get very stable. And romance, because that's what's on my mind right now, would evolve as well. I mean, all sorts of things would evolve. Pretty much everything. If we had a lifespan that was essentially indefinite, Pretty much everything would evolve in our culture. But let's just look at romance. And again, Robert Heinlein talked about this a little bit in Time Enough for Love. He tried to really bring up some very risque topics. If you want to read a book that's going to challenge you in terms of, where your mindset is, Time Enough for Love is one of those books. It is wacky. Very wacky. But I loved it. It was so fun to read. Yeah. This is an interesting way of putting it. But if you live 3,000 years, would you want to be eating the same bologna sandwich every day? That's one way of looking at it. All right? And the way he structures it in the book, Time Enough for Love by Robert Heinlein, is that it's basically a social contract between you and your significant other that lasts between 20 and 60 years for you to rear children and to be with one another. But you don't have to stay together if you don't want to after that point. So in a way, we kind of pseudo have that in the modern day, but we don't have infinite lifespans. So there's no reason to get divorces and whatnot, except to be selfish. Well, there's the 4 reasons to get a divorce. There's abuse, abandonment, one of the other 2. I can't think of the other 2 right now, but there's 4 in based upon Catholic beliefs and stuff. I'm not a Catholic necessarily, but they most align with my religious philosophy, my spiritual philosophy. So think about that, guys. What I'm trying to get across here with the overarching theme of this video is we don't actually know where our future is leading. We're building it as we speak, guys. You are the firstborn of your own person here and now. You're always on parade. Lead the best you can possibly think to lead. That means starting with leading yourself. To lead yourself, you have to have faith in yourself. That you actually might have something to offer. Because I promise you, you do. All of us do. We are all unique individuals. We all matter. You are always on parade. So let us march into the future fearlessly, or rather, with courage. Courage is not the absence of fear, but is the presence of it and continuing to walk forward anyway. So let's have the courage to do so. All right, guys. That's all I got for today. Love y'all. Peace.